In today's Adobe Illustrator tutorial, you will learn how and when to use Shape Builder tool. You will see how Shape Builder tool works and will understand its strong and weak sides. We will compare Shape Builder tool with Pathfinder and Clip and Mask. You'll get full understanding on how they all work, what's the difference between them, and this will allow you to switch between methods and experiment with them when you'll create your own illustrations in Adobe Illustrator. You're watching TNT tutorials. Let's move on and create a new document. Select Print, A4, Horizontal Orientation. In Advanced Options, select RGB and click on Create. You can download this sketch, reference and colors by the link in the video description. Just create layers and place them like so. First of all, I'll show you Shape Builder tool basics. I will pick this color, L for Ellipse tool. I will deselect this object, pick this color, M for Rectangle tool, draw rectangle here. You need to select needed objects. Then press Shift plus M, and for example you can hold Alt and click on this part. As you can see, this part is deleted now. These objects are not united. This is separate objects. What else you can do with Shape Builder? I selected these objects, Shift plus M. You can drag Shape Builder like so, and you will have one shape, like this. I'll press Ctrl Z again. Shift plus M for Shape Builder, hold Alt, and I will click on this part. Now I will swap Fill and Stroke, and for Pencil tool, I'll draw a shape like this, and a lot of lines. Now let's select all these lines, Shift plus M, hold Alt, and you can cut lines like so. As you can see, it's very handy. That's basically how Shape Builder tool works. Now let's lock reference and color layers. Let's create new layer, rename it to background. I for eyedropper tool, pick this color. M for rectangle tool, draw rectangle like this. Let's bring this layer down like so. Select sketch layer, properties, and change opacity to something like this. Now let's lock sketch layer and background layer. Now create new layer and rename it to fish. Bring fish layer down, so sketch layer would be on top. I for eyedropper tool, pick this yellow color. L for ellipse tool, draw ellipse like so. V for selection tool, let's rotate this ellipse. A for direct selection tool, pick these points, move it like so. Now the same here. Use handles. We need to match shape of fish head. Don't match all other shape. Just stop somewhere here. I'm using handles. Just play with points until you will get needed result. Now hold Alt and duplicate this object. Properties, flip along vertical axis. Let's rotate it. And do basically the same. Let's match our sketch. Like this. Now what we need is to place this layer to the top. I will make sketch layer invisible for now. First thing that we'll need to do is to drop shadow from this object to this one. To do this, select this object, Effect, Stylize, Drop Shadow. Click on Preview. Here you can play with values. I will apply these values for now. Click OK. Now as you can see, we have shadow not only on this object, but on all perimeter. We don't need that. And basically we need to cut this shadow right here. So how do you want to do this? You can select these two objects, Shift plus M for Shape Builder, hold Alt, and delete it. But we have deleted our object, and also we still have shadow here. So I'll press Ctrl Z. Let's just duplicate this layer, like so. With this layer selected, Properties, here is our applied effect. Just click here to delete it. Now we have dropped shadow on this layer and we don't have it here. So now you might want to select this layer with shadow, select this one, Shift+M, hold Alt, and click here to delete unnecessary part. Yes, this layer hides shadow here, but still, it is visible in this part. This shadow just goes out of border of this shape. So obviously Shape Builder is not working in this case. In this case, I'll press Ctrl Z. Let's just apply Clip and Mask here. Select this object. We've selected this shape. Duplicate it like so. To apply Clip and Mask to this shadow, we need to bring this layer to the top of layer with shadow. Select them both, right-click, make Clip and Mask. Now as you can see, shadow applied only on this object. We can double-click on this Clip and Mask and move the shadow just as we want. I'll press Ctrl Z now, double-click somewhere on the workspace to exit isolation mode. If I will move this Clip and Mask without isolation, you can see that we have full control on this shadow. Ctrl Z to undo. If you would like to change properties of this shadow right now, you're selecting Clip and Mask, Properties, but you can change Effects properties. Open Clip and Mask, select only this layer, Properties, and then you can change Effects. Preview. Now I'm changing properties here, and everything works just fine. You can also pick this shadow by pressing A for Direct Selection tool and simply click somewhere on this shadow. You can directly go to Properties and change Effect. Also, what options do you have here? Let's pick this shadow. As you can see, this shadow is dropped from this shape. So, when we're changing proportions of this shape, shadow is following it. We don't need shadow to go all over this line. We need it to stop somewhere here and to absolutely fade in this part. So, just pick this shadow and move it like so. As you can see, it fades right here. We can fade it even more. This is the way how you can create such shadows. Let's make sketch layer visible again. Let's create eye. But when we will create it, these layers will distract us. So let's just select them and lock them like this. I for eyedropper tool, pick this color, L for ellipse tool, draw ellipse like so. To move it like this, just don't release any buttons and add holded space to them. Now you might want to duplicate this layer like so. Duplicate this one, Ctrl C, Ctrl F, then select this layer, I for eyedropper tool, pick this color, select this layer also, Shift+M for Shape Builder, hold Alt, and delete these parts. Nothing wrong with this way of cutting these layers. You can change this shape like this with Direct Selection tool. Let me just draw another part here. But let me show you another way how you can create this part and have better control on this shape. Let's just create simple rectangle. Select this object, Ctrl C, Ctrl Shift V. Now select these two objects. Right click, make Clip and Mask. Deselect these objects. A for Direct Selection tool, pick this rectangle. P for Pen tool, add point here. A for Direct Selection tool, and move this point. Properties, convert selected anchor points to smooth. Play with these handles. And now you have much more options, because you can move this shape like this. You can duplicate it within this clipping mask, play with expressions, with overall look. If you can't pick needed shape, just deselect this clipping mask, A for direct selection tool, and try to pick it again. As you can see, you have a lot more options than if you would just simply cut this shape with Shape Builder tool. So just notice that you have this option also. I'll play with proportions here. Just make changes. Deselect object to see how it looks. Play with it again if you need to. I'll stop on something like this. Let's add some teeth here. Let's just pick this color. P for pen tool. Just draw a shape like this. Move it here. Let's make it smaller. Now hold Alt. Duplicate it like so. And press Ctrl D to duplicate it to the same distance. Now place this one here. And this one here. Let's also rotate them, like so. After this, W for Blend tool. Click on each one of them, then press Enter, Preview, Specified Steps, and enter value that you want. I will leave this value, click OK. Now P for Pen tool, hold Alt, and just play with this line, like this. Let's bring this layer down. Now A for Direct Selection tool, pick only this one. V for Selection tool, and let's make it smaller. Now just take a look what happens with other T's. They gradually becoming smaller from this one to this one. So with Direct Selection tool, let's pick only this one, V for Selection tool, and make it just a little bit smaller. Now pick this one with Direct Selection tool, V for Selection tool, and move it like so. The same here, you can even rotate it if you want to. If you've decided to add more teeth, W for Blend tool, press Enter, Preview, and change value. Let's make sketch layer visible again. Let's create another part. I for eyedropper tool. Let's pick this color. L for ellipse tool. Draw ellipse like so. Now P for pen tool. Add point here. And with Direct Selection tool, move this point to match this yellow line. And in the same time, move other points to match reference. If you want to make sharp corner here, hold Alt and move this handle like so. I think this line will work for us well. Make sketch layer invisible to have better control on your line, to make sure that it's smooth. P for pen tool, add one more point here. Play with handle like so. Let's delete this point. A for Direct Selection tool, move handles. Let's make sketch layer invisible. Now it's right time to show you some weak side of Shape Builder tool. We want to delete this part here. And first let me show you one thing. A for Direct Selection tool, let's select this object. We have only one point here. Let's select this yellow object. We have only one point here and one point here. Now let's select these two objects. Shift plus M for Shape Builder. Hold Alt. Click on this part. We successfully deleted it. And you might be happy with this result. But you should notice something. A for Direct Selection tool, let's select this object. Here you can see points that we didn't even create. They appear here because Shape Builder creates unnecessary points. We can delete it on this object. Now let's pick this one. And you can see the same points on this object also. We didn't create them. So in some cases you might be okay with it. but in some cases you should remember that Shape Builder creates unnecessary points. Keep that in mind. In this case, this will work for us. Let's make sketch layer visible. Let's pick this color. L for ellipse tool. Draw ellipse here. A for direct selection tool. Let's change this shape to match reference. I see that we need to change this shape also. Let's just drag this point here. Alright. Now let's make this sketch layer invisible again. Select these two objects, Shift plus M, hold Alt, and delete these parts. I see that I have some unpleasant moment here. That's not a big deal. I'll just move point to snap this point. Now with Pen tool I will simply create these parts like so. Just hold Alt, drag handles, with holded Alt, drag handle from this point like so, Alt again, connect these points. Now you might want to select these two objects, Shift plus M, drag Shape Builder like this. You'll need to change color after this, and have this result. But I don't recommend you to do this, because again, you have cutted shape and you don't have good control on it. So let's press Ctrl Z. Let's just simply right click, arrange, send to back. Now you can move points of this object, move it up or down, change proportions, and so on. It's much more better to have such objects uncut. Let's do the same here. I'll try to create as less points as I can. You need to add more points only if you're sure that you really need them. Right-click, arrange, send to back. To play with proportions, A for direct selection tool, play with handles. If you see that you have sharp corner but you need smooth corner, Properties, and select Convert selected anchor points to smooth. I'll simply continue with this one. Arrange, send to back. Let's make sketch layer invisible. Now let's create fish scales. Before we do this, let's select all these objects and press Ctrl 2. This allows us to lock them all in one time. Now let's pick this color, L for ellipse tool. Let's draw ellipse like this, duplicate it like so, press Ctrl D, draw rectangle like this, let it snap to the middle of these ellipses, select them all, Shift plus M for Shape Builder, hold Alt, and delete all these parts. Now click here to swap fill and stroke. As you can see, we didn't cut this part. To cut it, P for Pen tool, add point, and delete it. The same here. You might think that you added point right here. You press delete and nothing happens. That's because you didn't select this object. Now select it, P for Pen tool, and delete this point. Properties, Stroke, and let's change Profile to this one. Now let's change stroke width, rotate it like so. So as you can see, in these cases, Shape Builder works the best. Now let's duplicate this part like this. Make another copy. And one more copy here. Now I will place them like so. And this one here also. This will allow me to move them all to the same distance. I'll just move these ones like this. If you don't like this distance, Ctrl Z to undo. Move it again. I'm fine with this distance. Deselect them. select only this object, and press Ctrl D. Now let's move them all here. If you think that you want to make this middle part more wide, just select this one, Shift plus W. We've just picked Width tool. Now you can see these lines here. Just drag them like so. You can do it again, Shift plus W. Make it thinner. I think you get the main idea that you can add some points here also. So you can do this if you want to, then you will need to duplicate them again and repeat the same that we did. Or just simply apply this width at the start. I will simply press Ctrl Z. Now let's group these ones and these ones. Let's select them all and apply some shadow. Effect, Stylize, Drop Shadow. Preview. Let's change X offset, like this. You will need to play with opacity. I've applied this opacity just so you could see better. Now you can see that we have shadow here also, and we want to see it only here. So what you can do, Ctrl C, Ctrl F, delete this applied effect from copy, click here to swap fill and stroke, let's just apply this color, and now we have shadow only in parts that we need. Let's add even more effects, gradient, linear, select this marker, color picker, let's pick this color, select this marker, this color again. Now let's double click on this marker, click here on color, now click here on this little menu, select HSB, and move this slider like so. This is how we create some kind of paper cut effect, as you can see. Now what options do you have here also? You can select our strokes, properties, and play with width of this stroke, or with drop shadow effects. Now as you can see we have different drop shadow effect on this layer, and we want to apply it to these layers. Open layer panel, you can see this dot, hold Alt, and simply drag it to other layer. As you can see, effect applied here. Now just select these filled layers, I for eyedropper tool, and click on this gradient. Now what I also wanted to show you today. Let's just delete these parts, let's unlock this layer, and I will show you how to use Pathfinder if you don't want to use Shape Builder. I will just pick this color, swap fill and stroke, P for pen tool, and I will draw some line here. Let me change stroke width. I will duplicate it like so. If you need to have lines only inside of this border, you can select them all, Shift plus M for Shape Builder, and you can delete these parts. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes not. As you can see, this stroke ends like this, and you just don't want this result. You will get the same with Pathfinder, so to avoid it, you always have possibility to make clip and mask. Ctrl C, Ctrl Shift V, right click, make clip and mask. You don't have such problems, and even more, you can control these lines. You can move them, use width tool, change anything you want, and feel comfortable. But there's another way. If you are sure that you will leave this stroke weight, you can just simply select them, Object, Expand, OK. Now they are objects. After this, select these layers, Shift plus M for Shape Builder, and delete these parts. As you can see, everything works just well, but you should remember about unnecessary points, because you have them. Here they are. The same here. So, if you just don't need them, sometimes you might be okay with it, but sometimes not. If you don't need them, then you should use Pathfinder. You should do basically the same, expand these lines, select them, select this object also. In Pathfinder, click on these dots and select Divide. Now deselect this object, select it again. you can see that these objects are separated. So right-click, ungroup. Now delete these objects. You might think that everything's okay, but you have this problem here. These empty spaces. But you don't have unnecessary points. To avoid this, after you expanded these lines, simply create copy of this object, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+F, then select these objects, this one, divide, then ungroup, delete these objects, these ones also, and you can delete these parts. Now you have ideal result. You have these objects cut, you don't have unnecessary points, and everything works for you just fine. So today you've learned tips that you can use in all kinds of illustrations that you'll create in Adobe Illustrator. Keep in mind all methods with Shape Builder tool, Pathfinder and Clipping Mask that you learned today and bring your workflow to the next level. Remember that the main difference between professional and amateur illustrator is not in drawing skill, but in the way of thinking. If you learned something new from this tutorial, drop a comment below, let me know if everything was clear enough for you and what you liked about this video. If you enjoyed this tutorial, support this channel by clicking on subscribe, and what's most important, by clicking on the bell icon to get notifications about newest tutorials from TNT. I would also appreciate if you'll click thumbs up and will share this video. This was TNT Tutorials, see you in next videos!